Hi, welcome back. This is episode 3 of Mind Your P's and Q's with Dennie and Ernie. I'm Dennie.
I'm still Ernie.
It hadn't changed since last time. We're going to be covering today introductions and greetings, a little bit of a carryover from the last episode. We're going to take a breath today and talk about some things maybe a little off cuff. And then we're going to talk about correspondence.
I'll do that.
Ernie, you want to continue with your introductions and greetings from last week? Or do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Oh, I think we'll just start with introductions and greetings. And one of the first things, look, I have it here on one of the pages, was incorrect introductions. But as we come into a room and you see a man to years ago, well, let me just back up. Years ago, we always introduced the higher to the greater by saying the greater name, and we were very detailed about how we did man to woman, woman to man, higher ups. Things have changed. As I mentioned a little bit last week, women were put on pedestals for years, and unfortunately, because in 1960 they came out with the NOW program, the National Organization of Women, who favored having women equal to men. Unfortunately, we had to come down off our pedestal. So now we are equal to men. I knew you'd love that one.
You've been far above from where I've always stood.
Oh, yes, thank you, dear.
Yeah,
thank you. Okay.
See, I say good things.
Yes. He's
better
smart.
Dinner.
Smart man. Yeah, right. That's true. So introductions are important. But one thing I want to touch on right now before I forget, incorrect introductions or improper pronunciation of your name. Your name is so important. Everyone's is. And one of the things, and I've just got 3 quick samples in here. One said, "Hi, do you remember me?" when you go up to somebody. Guess who I am? You see someone that you know, and these are 3 things you don't do. If introduced incorrectly, I want to tell you what to do immediately. If you're introduced incorrectly, immediately say, excuse me, because normally they go right ahead and they're talking. And you want to say, because everyone always gets my name wrong, it's Ernestine, and you try to help them. My father's name was Ernest, and I was supposed to be a boy, so I'm Ernestine. And that
I'm so glad you weren't a boy. I'm so glad.
Honey, that's good. I'm glad. I'm glad you're glad that I'm on introductions and greetings.
Yes.
Let me finish this. Okay. So, and I can tell you, years ago, we were at a dinner party. The couple opened the door, and here we're standing. This was with the children's father, and we were very into a lot of cocktail parties, dinner parties, very formal. And she came to the door and said, "Oh, my goodness, welcome. I'm so glad. Oh, Christine, I couldn't wait to meet you. Oh, Alice, here's Christine." And the next thing I knew, she grabbed 5 people at the door, introduced me at Christine. I couldn't get a word in. There was no way I could get a word in. And so I was known as Christine all night long. And you talk about embarrassing, because after a while, here are people calling me Christine. My name's Ernestine or Ernie. And now it's too late, because now you can't go back and tell them all they did it wrong, because you should have corrected them in the beginning. So be sure, and just very politely, if you have to interrupt several times, excuse me, oh, excuse me. I just want to, in a nice, remember, smile when you're doing that. I just want to tell you, excuse me, my name's Ernestine. I know it's difficult for most people, or call me Ernie. That's so important. So if you are introduced incorrectly or they mispronounce your name, please stop it right there before it goes any further, or you'll be in the mess that I was in.
Thank you, Christine. I appreciate that. Oh, wait a minute. That wasn't... I just had to throw that in. I had to throw it in.
You want dinner tonight, don't
yes,
you?
I do.
That's what I thought.
I take it all back.
That's what I thought.
Take it all back.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dawn.
Thank you, sweetheart. Okay, we are going into a room, and when I introduce myself, I'll come up to someone and say, "I'm Ernestine," and I try to help them make that association. My father was Ernest. He wanted and I always used to say he wanted a boy, but I'm the girl, so I'm Ernestine. And I try to help people so that they sort of have that association. So please try to think of some way. Now, Joy, I know that that's something that when you introduce yourself, you can say, my name's Joy, and I hope you think I really am because I love to be joyful. Or there may be something, if you have an association that you're already using, be sure and use that. It really does help others be smart. Body language, posture, voice, smile, eyes, and handshake. We covered the handshake last time. If you missed that episode, let's review it very quickly. You know, Denny, on the handshake, you know how I've told you that I hate to shake hands with men unless I do this.
Well, you prefer a little kiss on the cheek.
No,
but that-
yeah, the kiss on the cheek, that'll
Yes.
work, particularly at this age. Okay, put your hand up. And you know, the first thing we do, ladies, is immediately go right in. Go right in. This is not just a gentle hello kind of thing. You want to go in. Now, squeeze my hands, handshake. See, I have rings on. It won't hurt my fingers. And how many times have women said to me, oh my goodness, my fingers. They're ruined.
She's hurting my hand. Not true.
Do you want me to hurt
No,
other
no,
parts?
no, darling,
Okay.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Just thought I'd check. Okay. All right. See, you threw me off.
Well,
All right.
we're talking about.
Let me go
introduction.
back to greetings. Okay. Hi. Hello. How do you do? How are you? Body language, which we've talked about, is so important. And then be sure and correct if someone pronounces your name incorrectly. Also, I'd like to talk a little bit about. Are you ready to talk about something?
No, I'm.
What are you
I'm
going to
listening.
say today?
I am going to talk about in a restaurant.
Okay.
I was going to add that.
Okay. Do you want to do that? Do you want me to go ahead and talk about correspondence while I'm on this?
No, let's talk about using someone's name, a greeting.
Okay.
Introductions, I understand. You didn't tell me about how you sometimes get introduced, and you remind them that it's Bert and Ernie, to remember the Ernie part. And unfortunately, some people remembered the Bert part and would say, refer to you the rest of the evening as Bert.
Well, what I did, I tried to, as I mentioned, I tried to say Ernestine. My father's name was Ernest, and I changed from Bert and Ernie to trying to explain that my father was disappointed I wasn't a boy, but when I beat up half the neighborhood, he wasn't too bad. So, but you really want to help others be smart. And so, yes, there is an association. And I could say, but everyone calls me Ernie, like Bert and Ernie. But then you're right, because they're making the association, and they may call me Bert. So then all night I'm known as Bert instead of Ernie. This could go deep. Oh, we don't need this. Okay. I wanted to talk about titles.
Okay,
well, you go
one
ahead.
other thing is,
Okay.
everybody, I agree with Ernie, everybody loves to hear their name. I like mine, and I want it said correctly.
Me too.
I'm Denny. I'm not a dentist or a Danny. I'm Denny. And I prefer that. When I go into a restaurant, I introduce myself at the maitre d' stand, and I always ask their name. It just makes it more convenient to converse with a George or a Sally or a Sue or whomever. But also, when I'm seated at the table, I will ask the server their name. Night before last, we were out, and Rebecca happened, I remember her name. Rebecca happened to be our server. It's much nicer and much easier to say, excuse me, Rebecca, could we have some of this? Or could I have a refill on my wine? Oh, I wouldn't do. Oh, yes, could I have another bottle of wine for the table? But it's just easier to say Rebecca than it is to say, hey, you, or do that, which is terribly rude.
But Danny, you're a master at this. I mean, I've watched you, and of course, you actually have entertained and taught that for years too when you had to do it in business. But we go into a restaurant, and I mean, he walks in with the demeanor of he owns the place, takes over. I mean, you know people, you meet them, you remember the names, you know how to converse. I mean, from the server, from the people who take us to the table, the waiters. And I watch the service, I watch everything improve simply because he makes that personal contact. It's so important. If you learn this, you can master life. Trust me. Names
you.
are so
That-
important.
that-
Well, you do a great job.
It was very good. I appreciate that.
Yes, dear.
Okay. Did you want to, before you go into
Correspondence, which is written.
correspondence, did you have did we get some information from email, text, or through personal contact that you'd like to share?
Well, we had a number of people ask questions that I was able to address, and some of them we've already addressed on how do you correct your name when mispronounced or introduced incorrectly. So that was one of the areas. One of the other questions that was asked, and on correspondence, how do you introduce people with titles? Now, you introduce them with titles, but on correspondence, when you are writing, and this gets into a whole nother section, but when you're writing, it's Mr. and Mrs. Now, what if she's a doctor, he is not? That's probably one of the most asked questions. So people that said, she's worthy of her title. Yes, she is. But if you are married, then, and his name is Denny Rayburn, so to speak, and I were the doctor.
Dr. Burt. Oh, excuse me.
If we were getting an envelope addressed to us, it would be Mr. and Mrs. Denny Rayburn. It would not be Mr. and Dr. Denny Rayburn, even though the woman is the Mrs. When she's married, she's the Mrs. And her title, now, if it's just going strictly to her, it would be Dr. whatever the name is. But if it includes the husband and he is not a doctor, you do Mr. and Mrs. and the name. And
Okay,
I got a lot of calls on this. And then there's also a miss. Actually, it used to be if you're under 18, you're a miss, M-I-S-S. And anymore, people are using Ms., M-S, which of course you can tell you don't know if they're married or not married or young or old, and that's more acceptable now too. But remember, we're octogenarians, and we started years ago when you had to have the proper introductions and the proper names. What did you want to say?
Well, I was going to say that we went from somebody corresponded with either through text or email or in person about something that they wanted us to share into the greetings part. And we've jumped over a thing or two. But anyway, that's okay.
Which one was that?
I thought you were going to tell, but did you not say that Glinda had contacted you about something that you wanted to share with us? Never mind.
Have I slept?
guess not.
I've slept since then. Tell me what it was.
So,
Okay.
anyway, in going along with correspondence, you also were going to talk about thank you notes, emails, texts.
I did talk about the titles. Of course, anytime you get an opportunity, send a note. Send a thank you note. And of course, to converse, almost everybody will use a text. I will tell you, I'm still in real estate. I do open houses on Sundays. After every open house, if someone leaves me their address, I hand write a note. And I put a stamp. Now, if you don't know what those are, they're little things that go up at the upper right-hand corner, and it's called a stamp, and that way the mailman or postman is supposed to pick it up unless you mail it in the box and take it to the other house. And that's what those are called, stamps. But I handwrite notes to everyone. And I will tell you, recently, in fact, we're closing on the house, what's today? Wednesday, Friday. We're closing on the house Friday. And this was a man who came through my open house, and I sent a thank you note, a personal thank you note, handwritten. And he called me, and I know he had given me his history. His wife had passed away 6 years ago. 5 years ago, he sold the house and moved into an apartment. Had been looking for 5 years for a house or a community. And so it turned out that he'd come through my open house that day. But he called me and asked if I would be his realtor. And I said I'd be delighted. And I said, well, let me ask you, I won't mention his name, but I said, let me ask you, why did you choose me? And he said, because you're the first person that's ever written me a handwritten thank you note. And I'm telling you that just because it still applies. Yes, it probably will mean more to older people because we were brought up with that. But I'm telling you, even when the young people get handwritten thank you notes, it means a lot too. When you go to the mailbox and you get all your mail, do you open all the junk mail or the pre-printed stuff first, or do you open that handwritten note first? And I know you open the handwritten note first, particularly when there's a return address. So just food for thought. Takes just a moment to do that, but how nice it is to have that handwritten note and that personal contact. And besides, I got a nice sale out of it and a sweet friend.
Getting back on track.
Okay. Oh, you're on track. Okay.
When is it correct or polite or acceptable to use email or text?
Well, Denny, any more polite and acceptable? I mean, it's just a way of life, unfortunately. When ours is working, I mean, you know, our emails just changed, unfortunately. So, and I'm not tech savvy, and you definitely are. Tiffany, who was with me she was 17, and at 43, she moved to Arkansas, and I've been crying ever since because she was my brain. So I'm not good in that department.
Okay,
Sorry, honey.
that's all right. So you can text, you can email, but it's preferable to write a note.
It really is. Take that moment and really make the difference for that person. It may be just the very day that maybe they're down, they go to the mailbox, and here's just something real personal. Just that little thank you note. Even when you've been invited for dinner or for anything else, that thank you note to their home is just, it's worth it.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to take a little break because we're going to veer off of manners and etiquette and all of that, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that bother us. And one of those is we'd like a return to civility. Yeah, okay, yeah. That doesn't get it with me. You can say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, please, thank you, and those things. And there's some other things that are going on in this world that we just feel like you need to take your little corner of the world and maybe try to accomplish a little something. And I'm going to give you an example. One of them is the Pledge of Allegiance to this American flag that we hold so dear. Right now, it's my understanding that in the school systems, we don't say the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, when we were growing up, we did. So I have a suggestion for you. If you're a young person, middle school, high school, and you have a sense of patriotism and you would like to reestablish the Pledge of Allegiance, go to your principal. Well, first of all, talk to your parents and ask them if it'd be okay for you to do this. Then go to your principal and ask if 5 minutes before school starts in your homeroom, if you could start a voluntary system of the Pledge of Allegiance, and would they put a flag in the room and If they say no, then ask if you can do it outside in front of the school. Most schools, in fact, every one I've seen, still has a flag out in front of their school. Ask if you could do it out there, or still totally voluntary. It's not mandatory that anybody do this, but you do it before school starts. If they still decline and say no, then I would suggest that you go to the residence areas around the school, knock on doors, and ask if they have a veteran in the family or if a veteran happens to live there. And if they do, tell them why, that you would like to stand in their driveway, and would they put an American flag up outside their home, and you could start a totally voluntary Pledge of Allegiance system every morning before school starts. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with how you will change your little corner of the world. That's my speech. Do you have one you'd like to add?
We were thrilled to see, was it Louisiana who said that they're putting the 10 Commandments back in schools? Was it
Right.
Louisiana?
Right.
Jenny?
They
I think it
were one
was.
of them. Texas, I think Oklahoma was that way too.
Right. And we're so delighted to see, hopefully, we can bring some civilization back to the families. We're having so much dissension in our world right now. It's really too bad. Okay.
All right. that being said, then we're going to give you a little tease for our next episode, and it's going to be about verbal etiquette, correspondence, office etiquette, office attire. Back on that, taking a breath, another thing that upsets us a little bit is that some of the attitude about service people, especially those that deal directly with the customer, have gotten a little lax. There's a lack of civility. I referenced a while ago, yeah, okay, nope, instead of yes or no, sir, thank you, please.
Tipping.
We're going to cover some of those things. Tipping is certainly part of it. Anyway, that will be in the next one. Also along the bottom, you'll see the scroll about our email address, Dennie and Ernie at gmail.com. Also, our text is there, 918-568-2368. We ask you text only. Please do not do voicemail. We don't have the staff to cover all the voicemails we get. So we ask you to let us know how you feel, what you would like to know a little more about.
And we want to thank the people who've already texted and emailed many of your comments, many of your questions. We're going to put together a complete program on just a lot of the questions that have come in. I think that'll be helpful. We'll try to let you know when that will be coming, hopefully.
Right.
And because everyone likes to have their questions answered, and that makes a difference.
And one of the things that has been called to our attention is a patch that is out today that is worn right at the base of your neck. It is stem cell. It reproduces in your body stem cells. People have been getting fabulous results
Miracles.
out of it.
Absolute miracles.
Yeah, if you have bone or muscle support, back pain, headaches, shoulder pain, knees, anywhere, anything, you might get in touch with us and we will give you the information that we have. Also, if you happen to live in the Dallas, Texas area or the Tulsa, Oklahoma area, we have people there that could get in touch with you and
Hopefully.
contact with you. Just let us know either by email or text. And
Denny,
we will get back to you. Yes.
Thank you. Excuse me for interrupting. The reason that we're talking about this, I can't believe the miracles that have happened over the last 2 months while we've been wearing these patches. And Denny, you are off of one of your blood pressure medicines.
I am.
You have COPD. You have not used the albuterol for at least 2 weeks now,
Right.
where you were 4 and 5 times a day. We have
True.
seen absolute miracles. We couldn't believe it. And if we hadn't experienced it ourselves, we would be skeptical like you are too. But this actually works, and we'd love to be able to help you get into something. It's all natural. It's not a pill to take or anything else. So we just like to share what really works with other people.
Absolutely. And we'd also like to thank the people at Lead Line,
You're used to Life Wave, so now you've got that lead line.
Joy and Josh and Wyatt, for
Yes.
helping us put together these episodes, and they will continue to do it. We just thank them. They're delightful people to get to know.
Yes, and
and
we
to
hope
work with.
we hope we're entertaining enough. They don't go to sleep filming, so that's always good. Anyway,
Right.
we've had a good time with them.
And with that, we say we look forward to you in episode 4. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.